What does it take to be a creative in retail automotive? Well, this November 13th through 15th, my friends and I are going to show you how. We hope you can join us at the Modern Retail Conference as we put on the industry's first ever creative track for creatives, practitioners, marketers. If you are creative in retail auto, or if you have creatives on your team that you've just been looking for somewhere to send them to get them energized, motivated, and learn some of the tips and tricks that other people are deploying at scale, you need to send them to spend a few days with us. We're talking Kyle Mountsier, Darren Doan, Ali Pinion.
Was that a hair flip?
And Nathaniel Grecklick, some of the best, most innovative and open-handed creatives I know. And we're all getting together to spend a few days with a small group to actually workshop creative ideas. We're gonna learn about tools, we're gonna learn about live deployment, we're gonna learn about best practices, and we're actually going to make things. This isn't theory, this is actually practice. So we hope to see you at the Modern Retail Conference's Creative Track, November 13th through 15th in beautiful Palm Beach. We hope you will come spend some time with us.
Yo, I like starting a day off with a Darren King drum solo. What do you think?
Yeah, that feels so good.
So sweet. We got some news to talk about today. GM and Hertz are going steady. Lithium prices are launching and interest rates versus purchasing power.
You were feeling that. You were feeling that beat. You were purchasing power.
We should do a piece where you're doing the drum solo like with your mouth. Think about that. That would totally work. It would totally work when you don't have Darren King on the drums.
GM
but
Hertz
hey,
instead Lithium launches its purchasing
oh, here
power.
we go. Drop the beat. So that piece that you just heard or just saw was a little spot edited by our good boy Darren Doan, who is going to be part of the instructor crew at the Modern Retail Conference, which used to be AAAS. It's Brian Pash's annual event. And they asked if we would run a creative track. So we're pumped because we've never seen a creative track in retail automotive ever. I've never seen one. I was like, I don't think it's ever happened.
No, I haven't seen it because like typically everything goes to tech or sales. And that's just where the industry goes from a conversation perspective. And what we have seen is that great content wins. It drives attraction, it drives brand. And I think there are more and more people learning that hiring people that maybe don't have a completely straight line to ROI actually drive success for a dealership, for a brand, for whatever. And so I'm excited to see what comes of this because I think there's going to be some, like, I was thinking about this. I was like, Brian Pash just did he just played the perfect move. He was like, we're going to put a bunch of content creators around our event, arm them with the with the ability to create content, and then we're gonna get all that content, and then it's
brilliant.
It's
a brilliant play. But hey, we're gonna have like kind of a small cohort of a class that goes through. So myself, Kyle, Darren Doan, who you know from ASOTU and from other places as well. Like he's got like 1 billion views on the videos he's directed. Ali Pinion, Nathaniel Grecklick. Gosh. Talk about a legend in content creation in automotive. The 5 of us, there's 5 of us. We are going to be the instructors through the 3-day event. We hope if you're a content creator or if you have a content creator that you just don't know how to resource them. We hear that all the time, all across the country at dealers. They're like, I don't know what to do with my creatives. Like, I don't know how to instruct them. I'm not a creative. Send them to hang out with us for 3 days. We're going to go through a bunch of strategies, tactics. We're going to actually have them making things. We promise they will come back energized, enthusiastic, and making more content that moves your trajectory forward. It is worth the investment. You can go to ASOTU.com/MRC, Modern Retail Conference. ASOTU.com/MRC. You get $100 off if you register through that link. And we want to sow into the creative environment in retail automotive. So much stuff going on. We'll just give you a little list, right? So that's November 13th through 15th in Palm Beach.
We're going everywhere.
We are going to be some places. Next month in October, 5th through 7th, Kyle and I are going to be hosting a panel around the future of retail automotive with Alex Vetter, CEO of Cars, Perry Watson, partner in Marysville Toyota, and the one and only Alex Flores, who's always rocking and rolling down there in Texas. We're going to have a panel there. We're going to be at the event for 3 days in Miami. So if you're a NAMED member or you're registered, or you can register to go, I don't know if they have tickets left.
If you want to go, DM us. We might be able to find you a spot.
We might know a guy. We might know a guy. But we're excited to hang out with the NAMED crew, because let me tell you, I was there last year, and it is an amazing conference that is like the best kept secret in automotive.
Those cats know how to throw down.
They know how to throw it for real, for real. We got some news to talk about, but first, there was a quote that I came across today. Every once in a while, I bring across a Simon Sinek quote, and this just seemed to be so synergistic to what we've been talking about, to loving people more than you love cars, to having tough conversations, right, at the expense sometimes of your own success, or to maybe throw an event that has a different vibe and a style, maybe at your own success with the intention of activating and serving more people. Here's the quote: "It is a luxury to put our interests first, but it's an honor to put the interests of others before our own."
You know, when I think about that, like, you think that you would, as a society or as a person, you would desire the luxury. And what's really cool is, like, when you desire the luxury, there's a lot of self-service that happens there, and there's some energy for a little while, right? You get that little like,
feels
adrenaline
good
hit when you have luxury. You think about, like, I think about going, you know, the difference between going to Florida on a beach vacation or Haiti on a service on a mission, right? And like, you get that high hit of energy from a luxury thing, but when you have a sense of honor, it's much more long lasting.
Serving others, right? It changes your life.
It changes the perspective that you have for everything. And so when you put those interests of others before your own, when you are service minded, especially within an organization, the honor that comes with that and the long lasting adrenaline and engagement, that I like, when I saw that quote, that's immediately what I went to, that like fleeting level of luxury and the joy and constant pursuit that the word honor brings with it.
Yo, that's deep. We don't use the word honor enough in that context these days, right? We like talk about, well, we'll honor our commitments, but doing things with a sense of honor. Imagine greeting customers into your showroom with a sense of honor, or serving them in the service lane with a sense of honor, or serving your teammates with a sense of honor, right? Like, I want people to see me as an honorable man, right? Like that context. So to wake up and approach it with that. I mean, there are a lot of people that do that maybe don't say it like that, but yeah, more of that.
I think is interesting is, like, many people would say, I want others to see me as an honorable person. And I think that having honor, like the way that Simon Sinek has put this, is actually, like, because he said putting the interests of others before our own, actually where you receive or feel honor is actually seeing others be honored and respected and loved and cared for. And then that comes back in a feeling of honor, a feeling of good pride, right? And I think that as we pursue that, as we pursue others as lifted up, aged, as cared for, it comes back tenfold. So
sounds a lot like loving people more than you love cars.
It sounds a ton like that.
Tell me you love people more than you love cars without telling me, right? Kind of honors the antidote for that. Let's talk about some news today. So here we go. Here's a big one. GM and Hertz announced a joint agreement for the automaker to provide 175,000 EVs to Hertz through the year 2027. The order will include
year. Haven't heard that year in a hot minute.
You know, they're getting a little more confident, right? Like the closer the deadline gets,
I'm gonna dial this in from, it's not 2025, it's not 2030. We're going 2027. Perfect.
I think there's an interesting play that I'll tie back in at the end of this story. But the order is going to include Chevys, Buicks, GMCs, Cadillacs, even Bright Drop EVs. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I haven't heard much about Bright Drop in quite a while. The deliveries are actually set to begin in Q1 of 2023, so not too long from now. It could be within 6 months. Hertz is the largest rental fleet of EVs in North America, with tens of thousands of EVs available for rent at 500 Hertz locations. So Hertz is kind of coming back with a new thing. They did
legitimately. There were two Hertz locations in the city that I live in that had closed down. The signage was still there. And they've actually come in the last 3 weeks. They've both reopened in the same location. Pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a couple quotes here from Steve Scher, the Hertz CEO. He says it's exciting that two iconics that have shaped the evolution of transportation for more than a century are coming together to redefine the future of mobility for the 21st century. That's a very well-crafted statement.
Well, I think I think it's not too bold, redefining the future of mobility, because
rental cars was like,
how many people have you heard say, I rented one and then I bought one? Doesn't matter if it's an ICE or EV vehicle. It's a trend. It's like, I got in this car, got a little bit more taste.
I really liked it, right?
Test drive. I liked it. And I moved over here and purchased it. And so they could actually shape, like, you think about this, 2027, having all those vehicles in rental fleets, all of a sudden moving forward to this desire of 2030, 3 years after, people getting in these rental cars, having experience with them, getting their feet wet, and then being able to move into a purchasing an ownership experience. I think it's a really smart play for GM.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to tie back is this is a really familiar conversation because we've had it before. Similarly, when Tesla and Hertz had an agreement that Tesla would provide them 100,000 Teslas for their rental fleet. Actually, that 100,000 is nearing fulfillment. So it's actually supposed to be fulfilled by the end of this year. So the fact that, and then it was like, hey, like, we're talking toward mass EV adoption, and like, hey, the best way to get EV adoption is to get people have a low stakes interaction with one. Right. And that's like, I rented it, I tried it. Most of these vehicles will be rolled out through like San Francisco, LA, California. Obviously, the regulations are speeding up much faster. So we'll see what happens with charging infrastructure. You know, that's the next question, right? You know, if I rent an EV, like, I want to be sure that I can charge it. Or the nice thing about rentals, you're like, I'm probably not going to put 200 miles on it, so I don't have to charge it, right?
That's true.
I can bring it and I can bring it back, and I'm sure there's some kind of charging fee, but they'll probably be flexible on that. But yeah, so Tesla did 100,000 by this year. So I think like rolling out like 175,000 is kind of a way to be like, oh, look, it was a lot more than them. But we do have we have a few years to do it. But I appreciate it. Mary Barra, CEO of GM and chair, says our work with Hertz is a huge step forward for emissions reduction and EV adoption that will help create thousands of new EV customers for GM. There's to your point, Kyle. Right? I drove a Bolt. I liked it. I saw it. Well, speaking of EV demand,
stop. Segue.
Time. Had a little strategic delay before I hit the button, because when I said it, kind of expected it to hit.
So you're like, do it.
No, pregnant pause. All right. So EV demand and supply snafus have pushed prices of the critical component in EV batteries, as we all know, lithium, to an all-time high. Lithium carbonate prices in China, the benchmark for the fast-growing market, hit $71,000 per metric ton, according to the price assessment firm Benchmark Mineral Intelligence. 4 times as high as a year ago. I looked back like 2 years ago, and it was like 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's 4 times last year, but it was like $10,000 like 2 years ago.
Well, this is interesting because you think of EV as a technology platform, right? That's where everybody goes. They're like, oh, this is tech. So as tech gets better over time, we reduce the cost of tech. But when raw minerals are involved, there's actually a premium because of having to mine for these minerals.
Yeah, it's a tangible, consumable resource.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so, like, basically, the prices as it goes. So I can't remember the numbers, but you know, this refined battery grade lithium is like, you know, highly processed. You know, so it takes a lot more. You know, Brian Benstock said a lot of you have to strip mine an acre of land to get enough lithium to generate one EV battery. So you think of an acre. You refine, you get enough material that you can actually put in a battery. But basically, the prices are following the EV adoption curve in the Chinese market. Like, that's how fast it's going in China. And as more EVs are being adopted, that literally is like a 1-to-1 almost track where the prices of lithium, you know, all the major US automakers have struck deals with suppliers to secure, you know, I think up to 80% of their supply. So they say. And, it's just going to become a major bottleneck. In the article, they mentioned that the refining process is like the next bottleneck, right? We get the materials, we're getting good at getting the materials, and Jen just like, okay, well, now we got to get it into battery grade lithium. Interesting quote from Elon Musk around the topic. He says, I would like to once again urge entrepreneurs to enter the lithium refining business. There's lithium pretty much everywhere. I didn't know this. There's lithium pretty much everywhere,
right?
But you have to refine it into battery grade lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, which is extremely high purity. So it's basically like minting money right now.
So you're like TikTok famous, or I could get on the blockchain stuff and start coding, or lithium mining.
I don't
one
think
of the three.
I don't think if you lined up all the types of entrepreneurs in the world, the TikTok ones would look like the lithium mining ones.
Yeah. That's a different crew altogether. Yeah.
But that would be a really interesting journey. I feel like Darren Doan would be the one that tracks them like a TikTok account tracking a lithium mining entrepreneur's journey. Right.
Oh,
That's got really, Doan's name all over it.
Actually, well, you think about what he's doing with the recycling manufacturing or the recycling process in the US. It's very, very similar because it's a manufacturing process, actually. And I think it's one of those things where we just kind of expect it to happen now that we've got batteries and all this stuff happening. But it's a whole new ecosystem that we've never tapped as any sort of manufacturing. It's just a whole new wide open space that
how do we
dive
do it?
into,
Why do we do it?
Refine the process, hone the identity, like create a brand around. I mean, who wouldn't want to be, aligned with the most green, most eco-friendly, savviest, entrepreneurial based
/ most profitable,
right?
Those things aren't usually in the same sentence,
right? But you could do that. It's like a full brand play that company should be on TikTok and Instagram and all those places because everyone would eat it up.
That's it, Kyle. We should do this.
Done.
ASOTU Lithium.
He's urging entrepreneurs, Paul.
That's us. He's talking to us. He's talking to us right now. Interesting. And another quote, actually, I got my 80% figure wrong from earlier. It's 80% of lithium ion batteries produced are for EVs now.
Wow.
And that number's set to increase to 90% by the year 2030. 90% of all lithium batteries are going to be EVs, because I think of all the things that I have that have a lithium battery in it, and it's a lot. I mean, granted, the batteries are a lot smaller, right?
Very small. Yes.
Very, 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 very small. Speaking of things that
are not getting smaller.
Okay.
Stop. Segue.
Time. We'll talk about that.
Batteries, bigger, things smaller.
We'll talk about that. So we had a conversation yesterday with a dealer who said to us, why is nobody talking about interest rates right now on real estate? And
on real estate in particular. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And he said, yes, exactly. And he said, most dealers have variable rate loans on their properties, and rates, which started out as, 4% on a commercial real estate loan, are now like 7 or 8%. Well, rising interest rates are seriously affecting real estate purchases, home equity, and wealth building, right? And as usual, like we just said, dealers have variable rate loans. So check this out. For every 1 point that interest rates rise, purchasing power on a 30-year loan goes down by 10%.
Oh, absolutely.
That's because crazy. I mean, it makes sense, but like putting it in, like thinking of all the interest rate hikes that we've seen, like every time the Fed says we're raising rates by half a point, right? There goes 5% of your purchasing, 0.75 basis points, right? 0.75%. There goes another 7.5.
Rates are set to go up again today.
Today's the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're thinking it could be another half point or more.
Or 3/4.
So basically, rates a year ago, I double checked this. I linked it up in the notes. 2.9% a year ago, like almost to the day. They are 6.1% on average now, which is a 2.1% delta, meaning 2.1% equals 21% less purchasing power. That means if you have the same job and the same income status and the same credit score, and you're getting pre-approved for a $400,000 loan last year, now it's only $316,000. You think of what that does to what type of house you can buy, kind of neighborhood you can buy it in, and on and on and on.
And if you're in any sort of metro that's growing, you're seeing retail prices of homes still grow. And it's leveling off a little bit. Like I'm in Nashville, I kind of watch it. It's leveling off a little bit, but it's still like it's growing. So you're seeing interest rates growing, you're seeing pricing growing. We're seeing the same thing in automotive. And so it doesn't matter whether it's real estate, commercial, residential, commercial real estate, or auto loans. Like watching this as a trend for affordability and even profitability on the commercial side is a really interesting trend to watch, as we start to see like vehicle prices level off on used cars, even new cars come back to a regular level, and interest rates rising, you're seeing profit margins squeezed. And so we're going to see like the most savvy, best operators figure out how to manage profitability in this tenuous situation.
I think that it is one of those things that like we're just not talking about a lot. I thought after that dealer said that to us, I'm like, why aren't we talking about this? It's a major issue. It's like, well, profits are so high right now, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter in the grand scheme of things, but it's not a place where people are looking at like to pinch. And if all hope is not lost, by the way, right? No. Historically speaking, I think my first home loan was like 6%. It was probably 20 years ago now. It's probably in that 5 to 6% range. I'm so happy because I went through the painstaking process of refinancing my home. And if you don't know this, if you're an entrepreneur that has like business interests, it's really hard to get finance, believe it or not. You could have a great credit score. You could have cash in the bank. You could put 40% down. Guess what? They're like, well, I don't know. If you worked at like Bob's Hardware, and you had a W-2, we would somehow
Bob's Hardware is still barely making it by, but because you're
Bob's Hardware is about to close. You have no control over what Bob's Hardware is doing. Good. Right. But you're like, here's a track record of business and profitability and this and this. They're like, yeah, I don't know. Trust you entrepreneurs. So either way, I went through the process and I locked in at like, I don't know, it's like 2.5.
Yes.
And now I'm like, oh, it was worth it because I was so done with the process then. I was like, this is the worst. But kind of happy now. But guess this, in 1980s, guess what? The housing, and I think like the 80s was 20 years ago, but actually it was 40 years ago.
It was in the teens, wasn't it?
For 16%. 16.
Yeah.
So think about what that does to purchasing power and home prices.
Yep.
Gosh. So little perspective for you.
Grand, so
right. But I mean, think all things equal. You know what I mean? Inflation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So all things being equal, look, today is a great day to go out there and like be honorable, to go out there and serve somebody else. Go out there and, well, you can even start a lithium mining and refining company if you want. But whatever it is, we'll see you here tomorrow.